The relationship had always felt solid at first. When I met him, I believed I had found everything I ever wanted, a partner who shared my dreams, my humor, and my values. He was attentive, kind, and seemed to be emotionally available in ways I had never experienced before. There was laughter in our conversations, deep connection in our moments, and genuine understanding between us. We fit together so seamlessly that I started imagining a future with him, one that would be filled with love, partnership, and loyalty. I believed, in every sense, that we were perfect for each other. As months passed, however, little things began to shift. At first, I attributed it to stress at work or just the ebb and flow of any relationship. He would occasionally come home late, saying he had stayed at the office longer than expected. I didn't think much of it, because we all have our busy seasons. But slowly, the late nights became more frequent, and I found myself sitting alone at dinner, waiting for him to return home. He was still affectionate when he was around, but there was something different in his gaze, something distant, like his mind was elsewhere. It wasn't overt, but I could feel it. He seemed less present, more distracted. One evening, I noticed an unfamiliar name pop up on his phone while he was in the bathroom. It wasn't the first time his phone had buzzed with notifications, but this time, something felt off. I wasn't the type to go through his messages, and I didn't want to seem paranoid, but curiosity tugged at me. I glanced at the screen. The message was from Jessica. I wasn't familiar with her name. He had never mentioned a Jessica. I quickly averted my gaze, convincing myself that it was probably nothing, a friend, perhaps, or a work colleague. But my gut told me to trust my instincts. That subtle unease kept gnawing at me. Days went by, and the feeling lingered, growing stronger. I started to pay closer attention to his behavior, to how he acted around me. The warm, constant affection was replaced by moments of quiet detachment. It was as if he was living in two worlds, one with me, and the other somewhere I couldn't reach. I could no longer ignore the sense that something was amiss. His late nights increased, and his apologies felt more hollow. His smile didn't reach his eyes anymore, and the things we once enjoyed together, dinners out, late-night talks, shared adventures, became rare. I tried to address it with him once, but he brushed it off, claiming I was overthinking things. "Work's just been crazy," he said. "You know how it is." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust the man I had shared so much of my life with. But the nagging feeling wouldn't go away. Then came the night that changed everything. I had planned a quiet evening for us, hoping to rekindle some of what we'd lost. I cooked his favorite meal, set the table, and waited. Hours passed, but he didn't come home. When I finally received a text around 11 p.m., it was brief. "Sorry, ran late at work. I'm staying at Mike's tonight to catch up on some things. Don't wait up." I stared at the message for what felt like an eternity. My mind raced, the possibility of betrayal crashing down on me. I tried to shake it off, but doubt had already settled in my chest. That night, sleep wouldn't come. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer I could ignore the cracks in our relationship. A part of me wanted to confront him right then and there, to demand answers. But another part of me was terrified. What if my suspicions were unfounded? What if I was just being paranoid and self-absorbed? The last thing I wanted to do was accuse him of something so hurtful without proof. But by the time the sun rose the next day, the tension had built to a breaking point. My mind was filled with questions, unanswered and suffocating. I couldn't just pretend anymore. I couldn't keep ignoring the signs. Something was wrong, and I was no longer willing to live in the shadows of my doubt. I needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I spent the morning replaying everything in my mind, his behavior, his words, the strange messages. All the signs I had ignored before now felt glaringly obvious. The man I thought I knew, the man I had trusted completely, was slipping away. And all the while I had been blind to it. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. And in the pit of my stomach, I knew it had something to do with Jessica. It wasn't just a name on a phone anymore. It was a symbol of everything that had begun to unravel between us. I didn't know what to do with this new understanding, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. The foundation of my trust had been cracked, and I needed to confront it head-on, no matter where it would lead. And so, as I stood there, staring out the window, I knew that my life was about to take a turn I hadn't anticipated. The love I had cherished for so long might not be the love I thought it was. And the questions that swirled in my mind were no longer questions I could ignore. I had to face the truth, no matter how much it hurt. The first sign of something truly wrong came when I found the text from Jessica on his phone. I had ignored the growing tension in our relationship for a while, but seeing her name illuminated on the screen felt like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just the text, it was everything. It was the late nights, the distance, the growing silence. That text was the catalyst that forced me to face the truth I had been unwilling to acknowledge. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the voice in my head telling me I had been blind to it all along. I waited until he went to bed, quietly scrolling through his phone, reading the messages between him and Jessica. It wasn't just one or two messages, it was an entire thread, one that spanned weeks. The messages were casual at first, but as I scrolled further, they became more flirtatious, more intimate. He called her pet names. He shared personal details with her that he'd never shared with me. The worst part? It was all under my nose, hidden in plain sight, and I had ignored it because I wanted to believe in something that no longer existed. I couldn't breathe as I read the words. I wanted to scream, to confront him then and there, but I stayed still, frozen by the overwhelming rush of betrayal. How had I let myself get to this point? How had I missed these signs? My mind raced as I thought back to the moments when I had felt something was off but had convinced myself I was overthinking. The late nights, the random excuses, the detachment, it had all been there, and I had turned a blind eye. The truth hit harder than I imagined. The man I loved, the man I had built my life around, was cheating on me. He was having an affair with Jessica, and for how long? How much had I missed? The anger bubbled up inside me, hot and sharp, but it was swallowed by the suffocating weight of sadness. I wanted to cry, to lash out, but the silence felt deafening. I couldn't just react blindly. I needed to confront him, but I wasn't sure how. It wasn't just the betrayal that stung. It was the realization that I had trusted him completely, had believed in the love we shared. I had invested so much of myself into this relationship, into this man, and now I was left with the fragments of what once felt so real. I could feel my heart breaking, piece by piece, as I stared at the phone, reading those messages that confirmed everything I feared. He hadn't just strayed physically, he had. The moment he walked through the door, I knew it was time. The weight of the past few days, the suffocating silence, and the burning questions that had consumed me finally broke through. I could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating, as if we were both standing on the edge of something we couldn't undo. He tried to give me a smile, but it was forced, like he was trying to play the part of a man who hadn't betrayed the person he claimed to love. "Hey, babe," he said casually, as though nothing had changed. I didn't return his smile. My stomach was in knots, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. The time for pretending was over. I had to face this no matter how much it hurt. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice steady but thick with emotion. The words didn't come easily, but they had been building up inside me for days. About Jessica. His face shifted, and I saw the flicker of panic in his eyes. He tried to play it cool, but the tension in his shoulders was telling. He swallowed hard, not meeting my gaze. "What about her?" His voice was tight. I didn't hesitate. I knew I couldn't waste time with games. "I know about the texts. About everything." My voice was firm now, but my heart was shattering with every word I spoke. "How long, really? How long have you been seeing her behind my back?" He opened his mouth to say something, but the words got stuck. I could see him trying to process the weight of the question. He wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't prepared for this. But it had to be said, no more sugarcoating, no more pretending. I don't know what you're talking about," he finally stammered, but the lie was so transparent I almost felt sorry for him. "Don't lie to me." I shot back, my anger rising now. I saw the messages. I saw everything. Don't stand there and tell me you're not seeing her. I took a step forward, refusing to back down. My emotions, the hurt, the betrayal, it all spilled out, uncontrollable. You've been texting her, meeting her, while I've been sitting here wondering where you've been, why you've been distant. This whole time, I trusted you, and you've been what? Playing me for a fool. He opened his mouth again, but nothing came out. I could see the guilt and shame spread across his face. For a moment, he looked like he might crumble, like he was about to tell me the truth. But then he did something I hadn't expected. He tried to deflect. It's not what you think, he said, his voice low, almost pleading. It was just a mistake. I was confused. It didn't mean anything.
A mistake.
A fucking mistake. My head was spinning, and I could feel the anger rising within me. It was hard to even look at him. A mistake? You've been talking to her like this for weeks. You've been seeing her, getting close to her, while I was sitting here thinking we were fine. You've been betraying me, and you think you can just brush it off as a mistake. He looked at me for a moment, his expression shifting from guilt to frustration. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I didn't want to hurt you. I almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. Didn't want to hurt me? You've been hurting me for weeks, but I didn't even know it. You've been lying to me, and now you expect me to believe this bullshit. I could see him starting to break down, the weight of his actions finally catching up to him. His eyes searched mine, but there was no apology in them. There was no real remorse, just guilt. And guilt, to me, didn't feel like enough. It never would be. You should have told me, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. Instead of stringing me along, pretending everything was fine. You should have been honest. He finally looked away, his shoulders sagging. I could see how hard it was for him to face the truth, but the thing was, I didn't care. I didn't care about his struggle anymore. I know, he whispered. I know I messed up.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
The word felt empty. I had heard it before, too many times, and each time it lost its meaning. His apologies couldn't undo the hurt. They couldn't make up for the trust that had been shattered. They couldn't erase the months of my life I had spent in the dark, believing everything was okay when it wasn't. You think that's enough? Asked, my voice sharp. You think saying sorry is going to fix this? He shook his head, his face pale, his guilt written all over him.
No.
I don't think it's enough. But I'm asking for a chance, just one chance to make it right. I stared at him, trying to find something in his eyes, something that made me believe his words. But I saw nothing. No real conviction. No promise of change. I saw a man trying to save himself, trying to hold on to something that was already slipping away. I stood there, my heart heavy, my thoughts scattered. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream, to make him feel the depth of the pain he had caused. But I didn't. I didn't want to waste another moment on someone who had already shown me their true colors. Maybe I should just leave, I said, barely above a whisper. I couldn't bring myself to look at him anymore. Maybe that's the only thing left to do. And with that, I turned and walked away, not knowing where my feet would take me, but certain of one thing. I couldn't stay in a place where trust was broken so completely. The decision to leave wasn't easy, but it was the only option that made sense. As I packed my things, I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. It wasn't relief or happiness. It was something deeper, like I was reclaiming a part of myself that had been lost. I had spent so much time wrapped up in someone else's lies, in someone else's choices, that I had forgotten who I was. Now I had to remember. I had to rebuild my own life, without him in it. Every item I placed into the bag felt like a step further away from the life I had known, from the dreams we had shared, from the future I thought was ours. And yet, with each step, I felt lighter. The heaviness of betrayal was still there, weighing on my chest, but I knew it would fade with time. I couldn't keep torturing myself with the what-ifs, the could-have-beens. He had chosen his path, and now I had to choose mine. I walked away from that apartment knowing I wasn't walking away from love. I was walking away from someone who had shown me that love could be broken, that trust could be shattered, and that promises could be empty. I wasn't just leaving him. I was leaving behind the version of myself that had been blinded by those promises. The version of me that thought everything would work out as long as we held on tight enough. The first few days were the hardest. I didn't have him to lean on anymore, no reassuring voice to talk to when I needed comfort. There were moments of doubt, moments when I questioned if I had made the right choice. Was I overreacting? Had I been too quick to judge? But then I reminded myself of the truth that had been laid bare.